Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome into Good Morning Lambeau. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. Text us 865-658-5824. Join alongside Jacob in Wisconsin. In here to talk a little Packers this morning, kind of pick up where we left off last night. It's pretty cool, Jacob. We're well into the offseason. Got plenty of topics to hit on here today, man. How you doing?
I'm hurting, Linda. I think the guys at the PTA crew, I'll speak for myself, but for also Emilio and Tim, which are not here, coincidentally. It sounds like we all had a rough night. and I'm the only one that made the adult decision to wake up, other than you, of course, Clayton. It's just what we do. We handle business. We're basically Packer, players right here. We're playing through injury. Hey, good morning, Jen. Hey, how are you? Hey, everybody. Jay, Harry, CGN. How you guys doing? Yeah, I'm here. That's all I'll say. I'm here.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Somewhere at about 11:30 this morning is going to be Emilio like this.
Good morning.
Bro, that dude was fit to be tied last night. I'm just telling you. We hung out and talked for about an hour. All of us did after the show was over, and he was in rare form. Was he not?
I can confirm Emilio was on one last night. I have text messages to prove it.
He text Jacob all night long. Anyway, let's see. CJN in here says a beautiful Saturday morning with the diesel, sun, and PTA. CJN, good to see you, buddy. Yeah, I had me a big old cup of coffee earlier today, man. It just hit the spot. So ready to get this day going. I got so much I got to get done. I got to work out here in the property, clear the creek bed out. I've got to get a new swimming pool pump installed. It's going to be a busy day for Oak Clayton. We're expecting rain around 1 o'clock. So what you got to do, Jacob, you got to have vision, right? You got to think ahead. You drag your feet for the first 3 hours and let that rain creep up on you. Well, there's the rain. We'll get to it tomorrow. That's the way that works. So.
See, that's in my hometown, we have rain until about 1 o'clock, and then I have to actually go out and do some stuff. It's going to be a horrible day.
It's going to be a horrible day, he said. Yeah. All right, let's get right into it, man. We're going to try to keep this at 40 minutes. I know I always say that, but again, in the offseason, there's no reason for us to go over 40 minutes. We just get in here acting fools with each other. Now, with it being me and Jacob, we should be able to keep this thing on the rails. So that's what I'm hoping anyway. Let's kind of pick up where we left off last night, man. I know you had talked about, Jacob Monk's interview as well as Travis Glover. So we're going to start with them and talk a little O-line. I think it would be cool. And we've got a couple of depth chart screenshots from ESPN.com. I know it's just ESPN.com. It's not like it's the gospel or anything, but PFF still hasn't updated their site. And the Packers, they've got their depth chart listed as well. But usually with our lads and ESPN, they try to take a more accurate approach. I think sometimes the Packers like to send a few smoke screens out there for us. But
do you know if 33rd team updated their schematics?
The 33rd team, I'm not sure. We need to check on that.
I haven't looked at that either.
Yeah, might be something to check on. Tonight, are you available tonight, Jacob?
That's the plan. Yeah, as long as I don't. Yeah.
I want to make sure you're available because we're going to do Chalk Talk Javon Bullard tonight. If you are,
so. Okay, I'll make some time.
Yeah, I'll make that happen. So. Yeah, we'll dive into that. But let's start off here with Jacob Monk. Obviously, he was the 163rd pick in the draft. This one caught everybody off guard. He was the only player of all the draft picks the Packers made that was not on my big board. And like I said before, made me feel a lot better going back and looking at everyone else's boards. And it seemed like nobody had Jacob Monk on the radar. Again, 5-year starter because of the COVID year, 3-year captain. I'm excited about this guy. I'm really excited because people who are in and around the building, people like Jason Wilde and Mark Tauser and these guys, they seem to be talking about him a lot. And sometimes when that happens on podcasts and people that are in and around the building, it's like they're kind of catching a little bit of wind. I don't want to put words into their mouth. But that's just the vibe I get. Usually when they start, let me give you an example, Jair Alexander last year. That when they started kind of talking about the grumblings behind the scene with Jair Alexander, everybody went at him. They're just trying to stir up drama. They're just trying to get clicks. Lo and behold, a few weeks later, he's suspended for a game, right? And it's like they didn't come out and say, "Hey, he's going to get suspended," but they're just these little breadcrumbs. So the fact that so many people are talking about Jacob Monk, especially being the 169th pick, or I'm sorry, the 163rd pick, I think there's a legit shot he might be competing for one of those starting jobs on the interior. That would be absolutely awesome. Now we got to, like I said, take it with a grain of salt. It's they're few and far between when you get offensive linemen who are late round picks like a David Bakhtiari, a Zach Tom that actually come in and they're a legit starter. Let's get them in the lineup, right? So, but here's Jacob Monk at his locker yesterday during rookie minicamp.
To kind of feel out wherever everything is?
Yeah, just get my feet wet and meet some of the people here. I'm really enjoying it for sure, and I'm really excited to finish it out.
So there are team goals, there are individual goals. I know you might want to keep a lot of that private, but what would make a successful rookie season for you?
Just being a contributor any way that I can, doing what the group needs of me, and hoping this program wins some games.
What does it feel to finally be here?
It's amazing, It's crazy being in the NFL right now and being a Packer, but I love it. I really do.
What was yesterday like for you?
It was a whirlwind, getting up early, coming here, but it wasn't hard staying awake, all the facilities and everything. It was really great being here.
What impressed you the most about Lambeau Field in this area?
I think just the people here, that was one thing that, I loved about my school and my area, and it feels like I'm right back at home here.
You got just a couple days here with the rookie mini camp. What do you want to accomplish over these couple days?
Yeah, just getting to know everyone in the staff, learning some of my teammates and all that, and just learning the playbook and really just getting my feet wet in this whole area.
What went into your career at Duke in terms of the durability, being able to start, I think 57 games, was it?
Yes, sir.
Preparation that goes into it?
Yeah, it was really just, taking care of your body. This is your investment, and I had to be a pro early on. That's one thing I learned. And that's hopefully something that I can help, bring to this locker room as well, not having any dead weight around.
So what's the goal for this weekend for you?
Yeah, just getting to know everyone, really, learning my teammates, learning the playbook, and, just learning how the Green Bay way is.
I'm sure it's not the whole playbook, obviously, but how do you learn a playbook that you probably have hours to learn what you're going to go executing here shortly? How do you handle that?
It's a task at hand. You just got to get it done.
What excites you about being a Green Bay Packer?
Just the history here, just walking the halls and, seeing the Lombardi trophies, and seeing Lambeau Field, the rich history that's here, I love it.
Have you had a chance to talk with any of the vets?
A couple of them, yes.
Who have you been able to talk to?
Elton Jenkins a little bit, Jordan Love. That's pretty much it so far. And Lucas Van Ness. Yeah.
What were some of the things that they said to you?
Just congrats, now the real work starts.
Love it. Hey, man, you're talking about mature beyond his years. Someone said it in the chat there, properly jocked, too. Did you see those shoulders, bro?
That was me. I was like, that guy is.
That true that said it?
Yeah, when I watched this interview, that's what stood out to me is more than anything is between him and Glover and some of the other, you call them later round draft picks or whatever. They just every single one of them seems like they were made in a lab. You know what I mean? They're physical specimens that are yes sir, no sir, that are guys that are just excited to be a part of an organization, guys that are part of the community. And I really do think I've talked about this multiple times. I actually talked to my buddy Tony, who I used to do the fantasy podcast with this morning. I said, if there was a score that we could conglomerate that like an RAS for the Packers, it's like a good guy score. If you're a good person score, you got to be in the high nines for the Packers to really be drafting you. You know what I mean? Like your RAS could be in the 5s and the 6s, but if you have a good guy score that's in the 9s, man, you're going to be a part of this team. And it's just, I like that about it. Like, I don't think there's any other organization that prioritizes whether or not you're a good person as one of their high character things. And Jen says a good thing here too. That leadership, we talked about it briefly last night. Like, he doesn't have to do that. I'm sure, I know for a fact that most quarterbacks in the NFL aren't reaching out to their, new they're new prospects, just to be like, hey man, I hope you're comfortable. Like most of them are like, kind of, I don't want to say that it's a dog eat dog world in the NFL. You know what I mean? So for him to be able to, and like we talked about AJ Dillon reaching out to Lloyd, like a guy that could be potentially stealing your livelihood, your whole life.
Right.
He's like, hey man, I hope you have a good, I want to set you up. I want to make sure you're good to go. Like that says something about the person, So I really do think that like we've talked about, what's the quote? We're building a team. We're not building, or you tell me, Clayton.
Yeah, it's the old Bill Belichick quote. He said, "We're building a team, not collecting talent."
Right.
You can have all the talent in the world, but if they don't gel, if they're not fighting for each other, if they're not buying in, it doesn't matter. You've seen it over and over and over. Philadelphia several years ago, before they won the Super Bowl, I remember the super team they put together. Everybody's like, "Oh my God, nobody's gonna be able to stop this team." They sucked because they had no continuity. Right? It's important. We got the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Rob Westerman in the house from GBP Daily. Appreciate you swinging through, buddy. Good to see you in here. He said, "Good morning, guys. Let the rain hold off and get that creek bed crossed off your list." No, sir. See, I said nice things about you, and you're going to try to get me out there in that creek bed. It ain't happening today, Rob. Ain't going to happen. So appreciate you dropping through, man. It's always good to see you, pal. You guys, I'm sure you're following him. Got a huge following on Twitter. Just an amazing human being and great Packer fan. Just love his positive approach to everything. He's awesome. So appreciate you, Rob. Let's see here. Yeah, M. Smitty, Rob coming in, holding Clayton's feet to the fire on doing the chores. Just ain't right. So someone in the chat asked about the difference.
Keeping it professional, Eric. Nice guy right
there. Yeah, I like it. That'd be the only comment we could put up for him.
Better get it out of there.
I was trying to find the comment. Someone asked the difference between
I got you.
You got it? Cool, thank you. Doug said, "Can you address the differences between Monk and Graham Barton?" The two things that stick out to me the most, and again, this is just entry level stuff. I'm not going to do a deep dive on them. We don't have, we could do that. We could set a show up and kind of look at the differences. But Graham Barton played left tackle, right? And I know many people that kind of shocks them. Like, wait, he played left tackle. Everybody was saying he was going to be a center. He's going to be a guard. To the best of my knowledge, he hadn't played snaps at center in 2 years. So he just had a little bit of experience there. But he's a left tackle, and Jacob Monk is an interior offensive lineman. Now, when you talk about measurables, if I remember correctly, Graham Barton was 6'5", and Jacob Monk is 6'3", right? So obviously Graham Barton built a little more like a tackle, although he probably will kick in the guard. Those are the big differences. Now, the thing about Jacob Monk, and you've seen it there, 3-year captain, it's all over him, isn't it, Jacob? Like the way he carries himself, you could tell he's very respectful, very well spoken. You know who I get vibes from him when I hear him talk? A rookie Zach Tom. And again, I'm not saying he's going to play at Zach Tom's level. Those type of offensive linemen don't grow on trees, especially in the later rounds. But the way Zach Tom is just very soft-spoken, straight to the point, respectful. That's kind of the vibe I get from him. But yeah, that's the biggest difference on the surface between Graham Barton and Jacob Monk. Is Jacob Monk is primarily an interior offensive lineman. Graham Barton played a lot at tackle, and obviously the height, the reach, all that stuff. I'm sure he's got a better reach than Jacob Monk as well, seeing that he's that much taller. But yeah. So anything else you want to add to the Jacob Monk talk here, Jacob?
No, man. I mean, it really does feel like that for whatever reason, Goody and that front office has a real, I don't know a real niche for finding these unsung heroes. And it is kind of weird that we went obviously Jordan Morgan right away with the first round pick, and everybody kind of, myself included, I was like, oh, was that the right way to handle the first round? It was 100%. It was. And we knew because of the fact that they went in a different positional approach that they waited until they found these late round guys that nobody, when we talked about it, like you said, nobody had this guy even on the consensus board as far as Jacob Monk went. I don't, after watching him, he just seems like he really does have it all together. And even you look at Travis Glover, I believe he's from Georgia State. It's like if Goody can't get a guy from Georgia, he's like, well, let's go to them small schools and we'll find some Georgia rejects and get them. I believe we have a clip of him coming up. So he is another guy that's just like very well spoken, very humble, he understands that he's coming from a smaller school that probably he needs to perform kind of thing. And Jay here goes and says that Monk was at center yesterday. I hope that's true. That'd be great. I really do think that we can plug and play these guys within that interior offensive line. I have a random question, because is it easier? Because I've heard people, we talked about Barton, which, by the way, Graham Barton, I don't think it was the media that said I can play all 5 positions. He literally said that to the media, and the media was like, okay, even though he had never played all 5 positions. He just was like, yeah, I can do it. And so the media kind of ran with that. How easy is it for a random person that has never played never played center, that has played either a guard or tackle position, for them to just kick in? Because I can't remember what team it was. It might be the Steelers. It might be one of these teams. They're like, yeah, we'll just kick him into center. It's like, can you actually just switch to center? I feel like that's equally as challenging from a guard going to tackle as somebody that's never played center before, just switching to center. Do you have any opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's 2 totally different things. Like the tackle position, when we talk about changing from left tackle to right tackle, again, Mark Towser has the best quote. He said, if you want to know how difficult it is when you go home tonight and you use the restroom, walk with the opposite hand. That's what he said. It's like, that sounds pretty tough, right? So everything is mirrored. You know, your base has to be distributed. You know, your weight has to be distributed in an opposite manner. Your kick step, everything. You know how it is, Jacob. If you're a lefty or a righty, you get so used to doing things in a certain, in a certain way that it's totally the opposite, man.
I think about it. It's like swinging a golf club or a bat.
Mm-hmm.
With the other, that's completely different. And for people just to say, no, it's the same, you're swinging the same motion. It's like, no, dude,
No,
it's just not.
You know, like in baseball, for example, I taught myself how to hit left-handed so I could switch hit there on the backside of my high school career. And when you go to bat left-handed, you're used to what we call squishing the bug with the back foot, right? Pivoting, locking your front leg in. It's damn near impossible for me to lock my front leg in, my right leg in, hitting lefty, and squish the bug with the back plant foot. I still want to raise my left foot up, because you're talking about 15, 16 years of experience of kicking that leg up and using your other to squish the bug, right? And throwing your hands and everything. That's why I was saying, like, I understand why switch hitters in baseball, some have more power from one side and better contact from the other. That's how it was with me. More power from the right side, more contact from the left. It's probably got something to do with your dominant eye, but nonetheless, it's difficult in all sports. Now, when you talk about the difference between center, if you were to take a tackle and go, okay, play center, the thing about that is you've got to understand all of the line calls. You're the one setting the protection along with the quarterback. You're still making slight adjustments. Now, the further you get inside, the way it's been explained to me, that whole wiping with the opposite hand doesn't apply as much. Obviously, with center, you're kind of, you're staying in your own little spot here for the most part. At guard, you don't have to fan out as far. Now, I say that, and there's some offensive linemen here that they'll roll their eyes going, yeah, look at some of these exotic looks where you get a 79 look on the outside, a wide 7, a wide 9, and the guard has to fan out like a tackle. That's why, in my opinion, left tackle is the most important spot, or if you're Tua Tagovailoa or Michael Penix Jr., it would be right tackle, talking about protecting the blind side, right? So your blind side offensive line is the most important part of your offensive line. In my opinion, the second most important is the center. Now, some would say right tackle on the face side, but the thing that I've always heard is quarterbacks would much rather, if you had to choose, hey, would you rather the pressure come from the B gap in or off the edge? They'll say every single time off the edge, because you can see that, you can feel that, you can manipulate the pocket, climb the pocket and whatnot. So for me though, at center, yeah, I think it's, I don't want to say it's just as hard for a tackle to kick inside and play center as it is for a center to go out and play tackle, because there are certain requirements from a natural physical build to play tackle, where you've got to have long arms, you've got to have that versatility, you got to have kind of that height, that wingspan, that type of thing. So at least that's been my experience. Now you go back 20 years and you'll see guys, Scott Wells. I can't remember how tall Scott Wells, but Scott Wells was pretty short, right? Great center. That seems to have changed. Centers are starting to evolve to where they're getting even taller. You see it with Josh Myers. I think Josh Myers is 6'4", 6'5", something like that. Yeah. So
CJN had a good comment here, because Wall said switching positions on the offensive line isn't that difficult if it's on the same side.
Bingo.
Going from left to right side is very difficult, which we just kind of talked about. So,
and that's what I was talking about last night is like, okay, your most grizzled vet on that offensive line for the most part is Elton Jenkins. And that's why in my mind, I'm kind of tossing around the idea, would it make more sense for, let's say Rasheed Walker and Jordan Morgan just go at it in camp, right? And let's say Rasheed Walker finishes ahead of him. What about putting Jordan Morgan at left guard since he's used to playing left? As we showed you, all of his snaps came at left tackle. So what if you play him at left guard and then you put Elton Jenkins at right guard? If there's anyone who can do it, Elton would be more equipped to do that. And I know some people are going, no, I want Josh Myers out of the lineup. I got you. I understand. The reality is Josh Myers has not lived up to the second-round talent.
We're paying him.
Yeah. So, and that along with, and that's guaranteed, by the way, too, that contract for the rookie, for the best of my knowledge there. So the other thing is, if you put Elton Jenkins at right guard this year, you got Tom at right tackle, you got Myers at center. And then if Myers walks in free agency next year, now you can either look at plugging and playing a Jacob Monk, whether it's center or right guard, kick Elton to center. The fact that you draft Jordan Morgan, it's kind of got me after I slept on it. I'm thinking, okay, it's either going to be Jordan Morgan left tackle, Rasheed Walker left guard in the future, not necessarily this year, or vice versa, right? Because exactly what Mike Wall said, it's easy. It's a lot easier to switch positions if you stay on that side, so you're not wiping with the opposite hand. So that makes sense. But yeah, good stuff. Let's go to Travis Glover real quick. We got a video, and then we got a special video that our buddy over at Victory Sports, Coach Chris Haddad.
Coach Haddad?
Had with one of the GOATs of offensive line coaches. I'm really excited about this video, but let's go to Travis Glover real quick. Obviously, Travis Glover, rookie offensive tackle, like you said, taken out. Was it Georgia Southern? Is that right, Jacob?
Yeah, Georgia State, Georgia Southern, whatever they.
Yeah. I can't remember it. I get them mixed up. It's either Georgia State or Georgia Southern. I thought it was Southern. I could be wrong, but we took him with the 202nd pick. Really excited about this pick. He was 159 on my board, so great value.
Move too, like these guys, Monk and Glover, they can move, man. They are, for being so big, they are physical specimens, man. It's crazy.
Absolutely. Let's see what Travis Glover had to say at his locker.
What was the first moment where you really felt like, oh, I'm in the NFL?
When I got on the plane, I flew to Minnesota, and I flew here. I was like, oh, so this is for real. Like, we finna get to it.
Get used to that. There's no direct flight here.
Yeah, that's what they've been saying. It's hard to get out here.
So what is the first couple days been? Just walk us through what you've done since you've been here.
We got here yesterday. We did like physicals, getting fitted for helmets and clothes and things. And then today we just got finished with a walkthrough, been mean going over the plays and just trying to get used to the offense and learn the language and stuff like that.
Is it even possible to really digest that quick, or has you got a little bit of something?
Yeah, I think it is. It's possible to digest it, but you're not going to digest everything. So you just got to pick and choose what you're going to learn and the stuff that you got to keep adding on to.
Travis, what was the anticipation like before getting here, from when you got drafted to just getting ready to make that move now to the NFL?
Really, for me, I just I like to work out, so I just started just working out, just trying to not really think about it, just work out, get here, and get to work with these guys and be in the building with all the coaches and stuff, just really just preparing so I'm ready for the moment.
Like him too, man. Seems like he's got a really good spirit about him. And you see him on the field, he's an absolute monster, Jacob.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, these guys they just seem humble. They seem hungry. They seem like guys that you'd want to go out and have a beer with. And I think that there's something to be said about that. Again, the nice guy factor. Like I want to, I don't know what I could call it. I need, like Jay says, sounds genuine, down to earth. Like I said, the type of guy that you'd go have a beer with, that you knew that if something happened, you're like, oh, that guy's going to settle stuff. Nobody's messing with us. We're going to go have a nice night. And if anybody, God forbid, if anybody wants to start some stuff, these men can go from being very humble giants to just absolute freakazoids. And I think it's awesome. I really do. It's contained. What do you call it? Like just that quiet confidence that they have, I think is great.
Definitely. And just kind of looking back over the draft process here where we had Travis Glover, he was the 105th graded tackle if I understood correctly, in 2023. The consensus big board had him way down low around 257 when we took the info down, and then the 33rd team had him borderline top 100 pick. His RAS, if I remember correctly, was less than a 7. You guys correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I think it was less than a 7. And then going back here to Jacob Monk, obviously I worked him up. He wasn't on my board. I don't want to cheat here and pretend like he was, but anyone that wasn't on my board, I tried to go back and work up, whether they were undrafted free agents or like in this case with Jacob Monk with the 163rd pick, he worked up to the 259 spot on my board. Okay. And if you go and look, though, RAS, he was a 9+ RAS. So just a physical freak there on the interior when it comes to relative athletic score. So we'll see what we got in those two offensive linemen for sure, man. Again, just wanted to kind of take a quick little glance back as to the offensive lineman. Jordan Morgan, obviously, let's just climb back up and look at him too. I think I had him in the 32 spot, if I remember correctly. Yeah, that's right. So he was 32nd on my board, and he had a 9+ RAS. So Jordan Morgan, 9+ RAS. Jacob Monk, 9+ RAS. Travis Glover, a less than 7. So the 3 offensive linemen that we drafted, obviously, they're with the RASs. They 2 of the 3 9+. Goody loves those freaks with the feet, man. They love that sounded bad. He loves those guys that can move around.
All right, Eric, you heard him go.
Yeah, there you go.
Tim Smitty, I actually love this. He goes, let's call it the Tim score. Tim's not here. He's pulling Emilio right now, sleeping in. But the Tim score, a composite of toughness, intelligence, and mental fortitude. I think that's an amazing. That's exactly what these guys project when you talk to them. I really do think that's a great. It's the Tim score, man.
Yeah.
I don't know how we gauge it or how we delegate that, but whatever.
One thing about it, like you have to be extremely tough to play offensive line in the NFL. Obviously, it goes without saying, any position in the NFL, but offensive line, you're in that pit, man. You're battling for your life. Mike Wall said it on the show. I can walk into a room with a group of offensive linemen or, one offensive lineman, and I can tell right off the bat if they got it or not. Like, do they got that, okay, he's wired a little different. He's willing to do some bad things in that pit, right? You got to have that. But many people look at it like, okay, like you've heard us talk about, especially with Jacob Monk, he seems extremely intelligent, right? Some people roll their eyes and go, oh, how smart do you got to be to play offensive line? You have to be extremely intelligent to play offensive line. On any given moment, you could be running a power play, you can be running a counter play, you can be running duo, you can be going inside zone, inside the mid zone, you could be going outside zone, whether it's a true stretch or a wide zone top scheme. With duo, you got to know where your keys are. Like, there's so many things. And reading the defense, reading the individual that you're lined up across, all week long, studying their moves, studying their counter moves, knowing when they like to go with this, on what down and distance, when they're pinning their ears back. Here's their go-to pass rush move, all that stuff. And then you throw in the games, the stunts, the TEs and the ET stunts.
I was going to say the TE stunts. Do you remember when we watched Monk? Like, he was fluid with it. Like, passed it off, no problem. The footwork with. We even had, I believe it was Jake was on the stream at that time, and he goes, watch his feet. Like, he dances, man. He's a dancer. He's very light on his feet for being a man that's 300+ pounds carrying that kind of weight. I mean, that is a spectacle to see.
Absolutely. When you talk about the intelligence that it takes to play offensive line, I'm going to play a quick clip here. This is from Coach Chris Haddad, okay? And his guest is Dante Scarnecchia. Most people will go, who? Right? Dante Scarnecchia spent, I think, the last 30 years with the New England Patriots. He's got 5 Super Bowl rings as an offensive line coach. And some people are probably, okay, well, I guess Tom Brady's the reason he's got those rings too, right? It had nothing to do with it. But 1970. Jacob, what year were you born?
1987.
Okay.
Good year. It's a good year.
So you were born in 87. Dante Scarnecchia had already been coaching football at a high level, whether it was college or in the pros, for 17 years before you were even born. Right? And that's the stuff that cracks me up, because some people will hear these clips and they go, what does this guy know? He's a dinosaur. This dude has forgot more about football than any of us will ever know, man.
Yep.
But here's Dante Scarnecchia just talking about a couple of drills that they do to work on zone blocking schemes. He just Eric Toad, not what a
Come
ball.
on, Eric. I was telling you you're
When
professional.
he was born, Eric. Good God. All right, here's Coach Dante Scarnecchia, one of the GOATs of offensive line coaches.
It doesn't matter. You can say, well, yeah, the left side's that's the call side, and they're going to reach. Well, the back side's doing exactly the same technique, but we're just calling them a cutoff.
Right.
Okay. So what we do when we are teaching outside zone, we just line up, as an example, 3 blockers on 3 bags. I don't care what side they line up on, but it's reach left or cut off left. And then we fly off the ball with all the appropriate coaching points. When I blow the whistle, wherever they are, everybody moves up, and then we go zone right. And then we go zone left. And then we go zone right until everybody's done it. We turn around, come back the other way, so they get it both ways. So it's all designed to get the absolute most out of everything you're trying to teach in that particular drill.
Right.
And then the logical question is, can you see everything you need to see? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. If you stand in the appropriate way, you'll see that everyone's going to drop step. Everyone's backside foot's going through and not across. Going through and not across, okay? Backside ear to front side armpit, that's what we're trying to teach. And more importantly, as importantly, backside hand underneath the backside shoulder. That is hugely important, okay? We never square our pads too soon on that. We keep the guy on our backside half all the time until the whistle blows. So everyone's going to look the same. If everyone looks the same, I don't say a whole lot other than way to go. Right. If some guy turns too fast and tries to get into the guy and the guy's going to cross his hat, that's wrong. Right. Okay. So everything's designed to teach technique, to build conditioning. And I'm going to add a third thing, concentration, because we use 3 different snap counts without saying a whole lot. We'll go second sound. We'll go a hard third sound. Okay. We'll even have snap. We have a snap count where we actually change the snap count at the line, and we do it so because we always want them thinking, and also they're going to be in a lot of games where the quarterback's going to change things at the line.
Love it. Love it. Again, you hear stuff like that, and it's like, yeah, these offensive linemen are just big, stupid dummies. They just go out there and they move bodies. That's all they do. It's crazy. Talk about changing the snap count. They sometimes don't even know what the snap count's going to be. It's wild, man. So,
I think it's funny too, because like you said, the nomenclature of like offensive linemen, they call them like, hey, go. They're the big hog mollies. They're just the big dumb idiot that you send go forward, make us go forward. It's not that way in the NFL now. Like these guys are actual.
Yeah.
I mean, you got rocket scientists basically back there that are just built like they're King Kong. You know what I mean? So like they have no problem diagnosing. I shouldn't say they have no problem. I think that's why what separates the Green Bay Packers from other teams is that they get guys with that build, with that athletic, ability, and they match it with the fact that these guys are intelligent, well-rounded minded guys that actually understand what they're doing, why they're doing it, and the purpose of it. So yeah, I really do. I think it's I don't know, Dan. I'm biased. Like I said, me and Ryan always go back and forth about the late round draft picks. We've talked about that. I do think that this year we've got I think we got a great draft class. I really do. I think that we knocked it out of the park. I mean, the only one that I'm a little bit hesitant on is Tyron Hopper, and that guy is a dog. He's a freaking dog. Like if you just point him in the direction and say, "Hey, go hit that and hit it hard," he'll do it. Like you don't need to give him the playbook. You just tell him, "This is your job. This is your assignment. Go get it." And I feel like specifically all the offensive linemen, the Glover and the Monk and the Morgan, these guys are they're just football players. And I think that with the right coaching, with the right tutelage, they are going to be absolute dogs. I really do think that. Every single one of them. And I'll say that right now. I do. I think that they're all going to be great. I do.
Yeah, and for me, there's 3 picks, and they're right in the middle of the draft. The 3 that I have question marks on. And again, it doesn't mean like, okay, everyone else is slam dunks and these guys suck. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the 3 that didn't match up with how my board fell. And again, my board isn't the consensus big board. My board is comprised of about 5 different elements, along with RAS scores, everything to kind of balance everything out. You guys know that I try to grab the rankings before the Underwear Olympics, so no one's swayed in that regard. It's mostly just tape. It's mostly just what happened in the college football season, but the 3 are right there in the middle. One you mentioned, Tyron Hopper. We took him at 91. He was 237 on my board. Evan Williams, safety out of Oregon. He was one. They took him with the 111th pick. He was 216 on my board. And then Jacob Monk, they took with 163. He ended up being 259 once we worked him into the board. Other than those 3 guys, everyone else was either spot on with the board or it was a great pick. Like Edgerrin Cooper was a little bit of a reach according to my board. But again, with Edgerrin Cooper, you're talking about the guy who's got the most upside out of the linebacker class, right? And my board is kind of set for low floor. So what that tells you, or I'm sorry, high floor is how my board is built essentially. So what it tells you about those 3 right there in the middle, Tyron Hopper, if I remember correctly, had a crazy RAS. Evan Williams, you've seen him. He's a physical freak. Jacob Monk, 9+ RAS. So what it tells you is those 3 in the middle, the reason they didn't line up on my board is because you're talking about a higher ceiling, higher athletic ability, which we know people love. So
do you think it's fair that and I I've been one of these proponents of people that said that, like, hey, RAS is really great tool, but it's not everything. I really know. I'm starting to think like it's kind of everything, especially in the first and second rounds. We saw Mr. Oh gosh, Math Bomb, is that his name on the guy that does the RAS readings?
I always mess his name up.
Kent Locke.
Yeah, Kent Lee Lat or Lot, however you say his name.
The guy, whatever his name is, go give him a follow. He's an amazing, follows this. But I really am starting to think that, like, the Packers really do prioritize, not just the Packers. He showed that the 97% or like 95% of the first round draft picks had a 9 or higher RAS.
Yeah.
The second round, it was like 87%. In the third round, it was like 56%. And then it got gradually, distance from that. So yeah, RAS is a massive indication of where they're going to be drafted. It just is. Like, we can't deny that anymore. Even if it didn't used to be, but like for whatever reason, it caught on and people are like, man, this guy's a freak. So the Packers, I think, were ahead of that game. They were looking at RAS, I think, long before a lot of teams were. I could be wrong on that. I don't know. But I really do think that that's a big thing. And it is something to be said that, like, we just bring in guys that are hungry, they're humble, and they have the athletic ability to do whatever the heck we want them to do. Like, that's crazy. Like, that's a coach's dream. Imagine Jeff Hafley and LaFleur being like, oh, we got 11 dudes, 11 guys that are literally freaks and they're humble and we can tell them what to do. Like, okay, like, that is a coach's good dream, I'll say.
That's the other thing too. Like, I was thinking about this the other day and it was just a random thought, like Jeff Hafley coached at Boston College, right? Now listen, when you get to the NFL, obviously the level of competition goes through the freaking roof, right? So it's not going to be nowhere near as simple or easy to put a defense together at the NFL level as it is at college, right? I think we would all agree with that with some of the cupcake teams that you have to play throughout the season. So I was just thinking, though, he comes in to this defense and he looks up and he goes, we got Rashawn Gary on the edge, right? Preston Smith, no pushover. Kenny Clark, some are projecting he's going to be one of the best one-gap interior defensive linemen in the league. You got Lucas Van Ness. You got Devontae White. You got Carl Brooks, who I think had a great year last year as a rookie. Then you go to the linebacker position. You got Quay Walker. He's a physical freak. Now you got Edgerrin Cooper, who's just kind of that complete clone of Quay Walker and how they're built and that athleticism. You got Jair Alexander. When he's on, he is one of, if not the best cornerbacks in the league. You just went out and signed Xavier McKinney, arguably the best safety in the league, at least from free agent standpoint. Now you got Javon Bullard, a second-round pick, who we're going to do chalk talk about tonight. You got him, Oladapo. Even the rookies that they're bringing in, Jeff Hafley's got to look up and go, okay, I understand the level of competition goes through the roof at the NFL level, but this is like coaching an all-star team, like when you think about it. You go from
even Evan
being
Williams,
so limited in recruiting at Boston College to now you've got just a bunch of, what would be absolute studs in college, right? So go ahead, Jake.
No, I was just going to say, dude, Evan Williams, his like pass rush success rate, he's like 50%. He had like, I I don't want to misquote. I think he had like 10 sacks, 11 sacks or whatever on like, he is just a absolute human missile where they're like, hey, it's this and this down. Let's just send Evan, and he'll just come off the edge. And that's one thing I've talked about it again and again. We have we I don't know if it was Halfley or if it was just Gutekunst that said, look, we're not having guys that settle anymore. We're not going to have a defense that stops and waits for the opponent to come to him. We want guys that are literally going predator on these dudes. And that's what they drafted. Hopper, Cooper, every single one of our safeties, even Kalen King. Again, Kalen King is a dog. And people are giving him a lot of grief because he fell to the 7th. If he would have went out if he was eligible, he would have been able to go in a first round. He was that good. So something happened from year 1 to year 2. We'll figure that out. I really do think that Jeff Halfley is going to figure that out. He is the guru. We got a guru on the offensive side. We got a guru on the defensive side. There's no reason this team shouldn't be absolutely primed and just running out of this stadium like they're going to kill everybody, dude. Like they're primed, man. They're good to go. I'm excited.
Yeah, Eric Sutherland says this whole defense is freaky. Hopefully it shows up on the field. Here's the thing. We talk about all the athletic ability. We talk about, this would be a college all-star team, obviously, even with the draft picks that we just took. But when it comes to scheme, there's no perfect play call on defense. And you got to go back to last year. What did we see? What did the defense do? What improved, right? They improved on their run defense last year slightly, but their pass defense took a slight step back. So you kind of call it a push, right? Scoring defense, they were in the top 10 most of the year. I think they ended up finishing outside of the top 10. Now, when you look at schematically what they did, many people go, all right, we're no longer playing off. We're no longer playing off. We're not going to play this too high shell. Guys, they played a top 10. They played single high coverage, right? Middle field close, 10th, like in the top 10 highest in the league. So that's all a BS lie from people who get drunk on live streams and pretend like they know what the hell they're talking about. We were not sitting in too high coverage all year. We were showing too high pre-snap and rotating down. There's a big difference there. So I say that because when you come out pre-snap and you go too high, what you're doing is you're deterring the quarterback from taking a shot because they've got pre-snap and post-snap reads. When they come to the line, they see a 2 on the shelf. They go, okay, we've got to honor the fact that this may be a too high coverage. Here's where my side adjustment's going to be. Here's where my read begins, right? Here's my 1, my 2, if you're reading it out. Here's my half that I'm working, depending on where the quarter half ends up. When you're playing shell coverage, that's the things that come into play. Now, what I think is going to happen here is I think with Halfley, you're going to get away from that pre-snap too high shell look, and he's just going to rotate guys down before the snap and get them in position. That's what they mean by playing faster, being in position to make the play a lot easier, right? So when you come into the season as that, understand there's a trade-off. Now quarterbacks are going to see single high more pre-snap, which is going to make them want to take shots more. That's why the Fangio system with playing top-down too high coverage or too high shell, the goal there is to reduce the explosive plays in the passing game. So when you go single high, look, middle field close, pre-snap, and you stay in that, then there's going to be more of a chance for explosive plays. Now, the guys have got to show up. Again, more aggressive defense typically means, more plays for a loss, more fumbles forced, and most definitely more interceptions caused. Interceptions took a big step back last year, but when you look at it, I think we dropped 7 interceptions last year.
Yeah.
So if you had those 7 interceptions that actually got caught by our defenders, that looks a lot different. I want to set realistic expectations and just try to put that out there that, look, I think the defense can get better. If Jeff Halfley is a DB coach like his former DBs are saying he is, then I think he's going to get the best out of this whole defensive backs group. And again, what took a step back last year? The passing game defense, right? So I'm excited, man. I think that the sky's the limit. I think there's a lot of potential. Just want to make sure that what I don't want to look up and see, Jacob, is halfway through the season and go, well, damn, we're giving up twice as many explosives as we did last year. You know what I mean? Because it does matter. When a team hits an explosive play, a passing play, for 20 yards or more, or a running play for what is it, like 10 yards or more, maybe 13 yards or more, depending on who
increases their chance of scoring.
Yeah, it triples the chances of them scoring on that drive. So that's the whole basis of what the Fangio scheme was supposed to be. The Fangio system was supposed to be. Now, again, the argument I made last year was we weren't playing Fangio's defense. We were showing too high look, and we were going to cover one the majority of the time. So
I actually had a question while you were talking about that. Is there any single one of our safety prospects that you can see being able to either be, you talked about if we're going one high, if we're doing two safeties back there deep, like, is there any one of those that seems like they can? I guess what I'm asking is which one of the safeties are well versed to do whatever the heck we want them to do.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing.
If Xavier is back there being the deep, if he wants to go single high, if we want to do some weird kind of tweener stuff with the slot, if you want a guy that's sitting in the box, maybe trying to cover out some tight ends kind of thing, like where do you see these guys fitting in it? And it's specifically like a guy like Evan Williams. I don't see him being a starter, but I see him being in there on a blitz package where it's like, hey, Evan, just go kill that quarterback. Like, go absolutely just go take his head off. Because that's what he did. He had a 50+ pass rush, like, success rate. That's insane.
Right. But it was college. Like, if you come out in the NFL and go, okay, let's put Evan Williams on the field and you're just blitzing, that's not going to surprise anyone. And you're going to see that quarterback come to the line. He's going to look out there and see what's Evan Williams' number. Do you know? Is it 30? Who's 33?
I think it might be 33.
Okay. Let's say it is 33. That quarterback's going to come to the line. They watch film all week, and they know when 33's in the game, 9 times out of 10, he's just blitzing. He's going to come to the line. He's going to take a peek at the Y if it's flexed out or that slot receiver, and he's just going to give him a little something like, hey, he fires, you're my hot. It's that simple. Ball snap, he blitzes, dump that thing off. Now you got the hat count at the second level.
I understand that, but you think Hafley's that dumb where it's like, I'm only going to bring him in when goes back? It's like, that's what I'm saying, is that's what's intriguing about this group of guys. It's like, why is Javon Bullard there? Why is Oladapo on the field still? Like,
I want to see three safeties, man. Because now you got to take someone off the field. Essentially, what you're doing is you're replacing your nickel, your slot defender, with a safety. If you do that, right, that means Keyshawn comes off the field. Who would you rather play in Keyshawn's place? Let's just assume it's going to be Xavier McKinney and it's going to be Javon Bullard. And to answer your question, Jacob, they got to be able to do both. In today's NFL, there's no longer is there just a strong safety that plays in the box. They play all over the place now. So let's say those are your two starting safeties. Who is that safety that you would want to come in and play for Keyshawn Nixon in the slot? Because that's essentially what your big nickel is going to end up being.
Yeah,
I think for me it's Oladapo.
You think that? Okay, I would say either Bullard or Oladapo.
Yeah. Again, that's assuming that Bullard is going to be your second safety, is what I'm saying. So, so it would be like between Oladapo, Evan Williams, Anthony Johnson Jr. You know what I mean? As you get down a little bit further on the depth chart. As a matter of fact, I've got this right here. Let's pull it up real quick. This is from ESPN.com. And again, this doesn't mean this is set in stone. This is just kind of their projection. So,
who is Deslin Alexander?
What's that?
Who's Deslin Alexander? Third string left defensive end.
You don't know who that is?
No, I do not.
I don't either. I was just joking. I have no idea. So anyway, look at the safety position. They've got free safety Xavier McKinney. I agree with that. Probably going to be lined up on the left side of the field from the offense's perspective.
Oh, man,
Javon Bullard is your starting strong safety. They'll have Evan Williams as the backup strong safety. Then they've got Zane Anderson as the backup free safety. I disagree with that. And then, of course, they got Katan Oladapo. He's listed as questionable right now. I think he's going to fight himself up into contention there with free safety. I think Anthony Johnson Jr. is over Zane Anderson, me personally. So, just kind of give you a look at the safety room here with the Green Bay Packers. So, it's going to be interesting. Now, notice here, too, they got Edgerrin Cooper projected as being the strong side linebacker in the base 4-3, although we're going to be in the nickel 75-80% of the time, so that really doesn't matter. So I think that with a 4-3 base there, man, I don't like the idea of Isaiah McDuffie playing Mike and Quay and Edgerrin both playing strong and will. I kind of feel like you would want a little more athleticism covering the seam there if indeed you are kind of playing that traditional Sam where he's going to be on the line and fitting that run fit over the tight end. That typically makes the Mike run the seam if you are playing some kind of zone defense or if you do end up man up on a tight end, which in this case, I think what Hafley will do a lot of is man coverage where the safety will be manned up on the tight end more than the Mike would. So the Mike would be more of that green dog look in the backfield with the running back. But what were you going to say, Jake? I'm sorry.
No, Eric kind of took it. He goes, Zane Anderson, who's drunk? I was just gonna say, yeah, 4-3. Like, is this where you project these guys going? But like, is the nickel a 2-4-5? Is it like one of these nickel packages where it's a little bit different than that?
See, that's what's hilarious is like the nickel package is going to be a 4-2-5. Last year we ran a 2-4-5. Here's the difference. The reason it was a 2-4-5, and this is why Matt LaFleur made fun of the media last year. The reason it was a nickel 2-4-5 last year is because Preston Smith and Rashawn Gary were listed as outside linebackers in your base 34 defense. So when you go to nickel, they stay at outside linebacker in quotations, but they're actually just playing edge. So your edges are a lot larger. So they just switch over to defensive end. This is what I was saying when we hired Hafley.
Dude.
We're not going – there's nothing different about a 4-3 defense in the nickel regard. Instead of it being called a nickel 2-4-5, it's now called a nickel 4-2-5. But it's the same people on the field.
Do these quote-unquote edges, do they put their hands in the dirt? Are they three-point, or are they going still on that too?
I think what you've seen at Boston College was a little bit of both. You would see sometimes they would stand up. Like I showed a couple of plays and I got roasted on Twitter. People were like, shut up, I don't want to hear it. I showed you their nickel set where the guys were standing up just like a nickel 2-4-5. I'm like, he's basically running a nickel 2-4-5 is what he was running at Boston College on occasion. Now, if you talk to coaches, they say it makes a huge difference to put your hand in the dirt. So in a base 4-3, yes, their hands will be in the dirt. In that nickel look, I wouldn't be surprised if Hafley asked the players, what are you comfortable with? Rashawn, would you rather have your hand in the dirt or not? Maybe they give them a little bit more freedom in that regard. I always think back to Wade Phillips way back in the day when he was with Dallas. And there was a big talk about them switching to a 34 front. And I think DeMarcus Ware was the edge defender. This was over 10 years ago. It's funny, this stuff randomly pops up in my mind. I've watched so much football. So they asked him, they said, how do you think – I think it was DeMarcus Ware they were talking about. How do you think he'll adjust to playing outside linebacker as opposed to defensive end? And you could probably find it on YouTube. Wade Phillips says, you want to know the difference between the two? Yeah. He stood up behind the podium, walked over and put his hand on the ground, and then he stood up. He said, that's the difference. Everything else is exactly the same, right? And again, when you talk about two-gapping, we done some one-gapping last year. Like Matt LaFleur talked about it. He talked about – it was against Pittsburgh. He said that was we were playing one gap there. We were playing one gap on that situation. So basically what he was saying to the defense is there's no excuses. You guys didn't play two gap there. You played one gap. That's why people looked at it as he's defending Joe Barry, his buddy. But when you turn on the tape, it's like he's telling the truth. Like these guys just aren't getting to their spot. Now, the problem was you were showing that pre-snap shell, and it was a little bit more difficult for the safety to get down because it was, we talked about that start-stop-shoot with Edgerrin Cooper. The start-stop-shoot with the safety is run up 5 yards, meet your run fit, and now you got to get going again. That gets a little more difficult as opposed to already being in a single high look and having that safety in the box playing what we call spur. So,
Affam. All right, I gotta highlight this. He goes, we have too many DBs. So people started getting at Affam. He goes, our run defense is going to be awful. Affam, are you getting negative on me here, bro? Eric Sutherland says, Affam, looking at that lower half thickness. Jen says, go back to bed, Affam. He goes, it's all look at. Good grammar.
Affam's in the bottle this morning.
Affam, come on, man. Why you hating? He goes, I started scouting AJ Dillon once I turned 18. Well, all right, dude. I'm just saying, Affam, don't be we started saying certain members were negative. Affam, you're going negative, bro. Why don't you come on. Stay positive, bro.
Be all right, man. He'll be all right. He'll sober up here in a little bit. AFAM's good.
I was gonna say.
He'll be all right. Now, I'm not going to BS. I have concerns about the explosive plays. I do. Now, the issue, though, last year, we had a ton of explosive plays we gave up anyways. Yep. Now, I watched the tape, and it was like, okay, that dude just stood in a spot with nobody near him. I have a hard time believing that was the scheme. So,
Affam don't drink. All right, guys. Let's just calm down, all right? He's just.
I don't know. Hey, fam, I would have leaned on that, bro. I would have pressed and gave myself an out. Anyway,
Afam, yeah, you're our favorite follow, other than Eric. So,
bro, I'm telling you, the three amigos, Eric Sutherland, AFAM.
Cole.
I always call him AFAM. Is it AFAM or AFAM?
Yeah, is it AFAM? I don't know.
I need to know.
Can you imagine how much fun?
So
no, I can't imagine that.
Give us a definitive answer here.
Yeah. Give us a pronunciation, like it's like we're like fam, like fam.
Got that part, yeah. But what's the first part?
Yes.
Afam.
Afam. All I know is okay, easy now. Offensively, he's trying. No, not offensively. Offensively, where are they going? He's trying to steer it back.
Yeah.
He goes, all right. So
we're out of time. There's no time to steer it. This ship is sinking.
Okay. FM.
FM.
All right.
FM.
Here we go. We got it.
FM.
Just.
All right, got it. FM. We were both wrong.
Eric says, I quit drinking years ago. Now I sip.
All right, we're out of here. We're done.
That's good.
That's what happens when Jacob controls the chat. We're off the rails.
God, you guys always give me.
As far as that question about offensively, where are they going offensively? I hope they press into 11 personnel. If you look at the explosives last year for the Packers, as much as I want 12 to be a thing, you guys know I wanted the pony package to be a thing, but all of their explosives came out of 11 personnel. I want 3 wide receiver sets, one tight end. You got depth at wide receiver to run 11. You got depth at tight end to run 11. Here's the problem I have. If you go 12 personnel, as much as I love Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave, whichever one wins the starting tight end job, I imagine it'd be Luke Musgrave. But if you go 12 personnel, it's going to be really hard for me to stomach looking on that sideline and seeing Dontavian Wicks, Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, or Romeo Doubs not being on the field. Because to me, they are way more valuable than either of Luke Musgrave or Tucker Kraft, whichever one you want to put 1A, 1B. So that's I want to see 11 personnel because it's going to open up the running game as well, for sure. Yeah. Now, with that being said, we'll come out and we'll run more 12 personnel than anybody in the league. That'll happen. And they'll do it good. So
I honestly do think people are sleeping on the fact that Josh Jacobs is a really good receiver. They did not utilize him. He had something crazy, like 12 receptions in Las Vegas there.
Yeah.
Like it was insane. The fact that they underutilized him
well in college, bro.
And he's fluid with it. Like he can the dump offs, I think that's a underutilized game that maybe Jordan Love hasn't came around to. We watched it even with Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones was a great guy that just, do that wheel route, flat route, whatever you want to call it. The guy he ate when they did that. So I'm excited to see that. I'm excited the fact that, like, I saw somebody in the chat said, like, hey, our top 3 is Dontavian Wicks and Jaden Reed. And they left Christian Watson as a slot or like a flex. It's like, okay, like Christian Watson, dude, he's not a flex. He's going to be the guy that stretches the field. He's exactly what the Kansas City Chiefs, that's their missing component as to why they think they can win the Super Bowl. Like they had the MVS. Guys, we did the MVS test. Like there is a legitimate case to say that all we need is a guy to run straight right down the field. It opens up the whole rest of the defense for whatever the heck Matt LaFleur is concocting up. He is a absolute magician with that. So,
yeah.
And then also, like, people that talk about the fact that we didn't draft any receivers. Hey, do you see this guy right here? Malik Heath? You see that guy right there? Bull Melton? See that guy right there? Grant DeBose? Even Tyrick Pitts. I don't know who that is, but heck yeah, man. Welcome to the team. Don't know who you are, like your name. So I'm just saying.
You look at the wide receiver room, and again, Bo Melton, we didn't even mention just a second ago.
No.
This is just, you got to stay in 11 personnel to get the best players on the field. Bo Melton had the highest PFF grade on the entire team. Granted, it was a smaller sample size, but that dude went off. So, yeah, we'll see how it all plays out as the depth chart sits right here, according to ESPN. Obviously, Jordan Morgan is the backup left tackle. You guys know they do that with every rookie when they come in. The Packers will have him buried on the depth chart until you get into training camp and start making things happen, So, I'm liking it, man. I think the team got better all the way around. I think the offensive line got better. I think the The running back room, I think it's a push for me. Now, if we get 2022 Josh Jacobs, the running back room will be better. If we get 2023 Josh Jacobs, then it got worse. Now, Marshawn Lloyd, I think, is going to add a little sizzle to that room as well. On the defensive side of the ball, we already talked about it. Got a lot better, in my opinion. I mean, linebacker, I think you'll be better there. Cornerback's going to kind of stay the same. We'll see if Eric Stokes can put it together with the DB whisperer in town now. And then obviously safety position, I feel like is going to be better. If Javon Bullard plays the way that we see he's capable of playing at the college level, he's going to come in and be a lot better than Darnell Savage. I believe that with everything in me, man.
You're doing Chalk Talk tonight on Bullard. Is that correct?
That's correct. So I'm excited about that one. It's good.
This guy takes angles, and he is a violent football player. Like this, he does not care whether or not you're coming home that night. He is going to take your legs out.
18 yards away from the ball, playing post safety and flying up and making a tackle for a loss. It's just wild. And I'm not talking about he read it pre-snap and then crept up. He was lined up, kind of pre-snap it. No, this is ball snap. He read it. The hell with what everybody else is doing. I'm shooting my shot. And he plays with such good technique, meaning keeping his body on the outside shoulder of the running back, making sure that, okay, if anything, you're forcing him back into the teeth of the defense. He just seems to play really smart. And I read that somewhere, too, that he is extremely, extremely intelligent, got a really high IQ, they said, Javon Bullard. So I think we got us a dog there. I'm excited. Again, health is everything, too. They got to stay healthy. Everybody's got to stay healthy for this all to come together. So we're way over. Jacob, we're going to go 40 minutes. We're at the hour and 1 minute mark. We didn't even get to the contract talk, so maybe we'll get into that tomorrow. But you got anything else, Bo?
No, man. Just great to see the chat here. It's crazy that we have over 300 people here watching on a Saturday morning for no reason in the off season. If you guys can hit like, subscribe, share, all that kind of stuff, it'd be great. As you guys know, we crank out this content as much as we can, and you guys make it. You make it what we do. Like this again, Clayton said we should have been 40 minutes. It's because the chat. It's because you guys make this a great show. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, completely agree, man. All right, we're out of here. We'll see you tonight for Chalk Talk, 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern, breaking down Javon Bullard, rookie safety from Georgia. It's going to be a really, really fun watch. If you guys would take just a quick second, hit that like button for us on YouTube. Feel free to subscribe to the channel too. Don't worry about turning on notifications because there's really no need. We'll be going live every day. You'll know that we're live either twice a day or at least once a day. So you don't really have to have that on to bother you. FAM. Is it AFAM?
All right, now you're confusing us, dude. Now you're just
Smith. Let's get out of it. I ain't got time for this. I'm gonna hit you with this one, AFAM. I'm gonna continue to call you AFAM. Here, take this with you. Yeah. Okay. So everybody have a great day. For those of you listening on the pod, thank you for making us a part of your day. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world, and go Pack Go.